Alright, I'm just gonna rip off the band-aid. I don't think xenomorphs are the ultimate life form. They are neat, don't get me wrong, but everything from their bodies to their life cycles leaves much to be desired, and also makes me vaguely unhappy. As all-consuming alien hives go, these fellas fall somewhere after the Nautilus sample from Xenoparasitic, but well below any of the big boy biohorrors. Xenomorphs are nothing compared to the big boys, like Necromorphs, the Tyranids, the Flood. Those guys could kill the universe. Xenomorphs, they can kill a planet on a good day. One of the big problems is that xenomorphs only work if you make some pretty big assumptions about the biological life they're up against. If any of those assumptions end up being wrong, the entire xenomorph life cycle and MO completely falls apart. So come with me on a journey where I'm gonna give all my little nitpicks about xenomorphs, and then I'm gonna give a mostly unordered list of aliens and other things that I think could probably kill the xenomorph with relative ease. This is a slop video, I'm not putting as much effort into it as usual, so that's why you should like and subscribe, because I tell you up front when my video is gonna suck. You know why my last few videos have been coming out slowly? Because I got hit and run by a semi-truck. That ruined my car and my bank account. Thankfully I got out unharmed, but now I'm in a bad spot. So like and subscribe, help me out, and bear with the slop while I get back into the swing of things. So here's my first problem with xenomorphs. Their life cycle is so dumb. You see, most living things follow a very simple strategy. You create a young version of yourself, and then that young version of yourself grows up, and then it creates more young versions of itself. Easy. Now instead imagine a version where instead of creating a young version of yourself, you instead put a gnome in some tall grass with a knife. When a person walks by, the gnome runs out of the grass and shanks the person. The person who got shanked then somehow creates your kid. Why do xenomorphs need to subcontract part of their entire life cycle to a different species called facehuggers? I feel like cutting out the middleman will make the process much more efficient and increase financial earnings for this quarter by 30%. Let's actually break down this life cycle though. So a queen lays an egg. The egg then sits there for an indefinite amount of time. Eventually, a creature will come by the egg though, and then the egg opens up and out pops the facehugger. The facehugger is not a xenomorph. It's not related to them in any way. It's just part of the life cycle because of course it is. It leaps at the creature nearby, latches onto its face, and injects a something down their throat. And I say a something because alien lore is a hodgepodge of nonsense. Depending on what source you read, it's either like a small alien is injected, an egg is injected, an embryo, some of them inject like a cancer that grows. Who knows what is real? All I know is that something goes in and then eventually an alien comes out. And that's the next part. Whatever's injected then just sits in the host for a few hours to a day, and that becomes a chest burster, which is a small version of a xenomorph that's kind of just like a worm. When it's ready, it bursts out of the host chest, usually killing them, and then it slithers away to then go and turn into a real xenomorph. It like molts or something off screen. Why do you need so many steps? You can cut out the facehugger. What if the eggs, just made baby xenomorphs? Or what if xenomorphs directly implanted the chest burster into their victims, instead of needing the whole facehugger egg thing? You could just do what other big alien bio things do and directly infect your host. This weird convoluted life cycle means that most xenomorph outbreaks kind of are doomed. Unless you have a queen present, the best they can do is kill everyone present. That's it. They can't make new eggs, they can't lay new eggs, so they're just stuck. They can't reproduce in any meaningful way. And don't even get me started about eggmorphosis. I know someone in the comments gonna be like, Slormp, there's that thing where the aliens can turn people into eggs. That's not a thing. It's almost a thing, it's kind of sorta maybe canon, but it's not canon. In the first Alien movie, in deleted scenes, they had this idea that the alien could turn living people or bodies into xenomorph eggs, and then create more facehuggers. That was cut out. And then basically every Alien movie since then has had plans to include eggmorphosis as a part of the movie, and then it's either never been filmed or gets cut out. So it's always kinda sorta maybe canon, because apparently every director of every Alien movie is like, it would be really cool if we had the alien turn people into eggs, but then none of them crossed the finish line. It's always almost there. And I'm sure in some obscure comic from the 90s we see eggmorphosis actually, but if we're counting obscure comics from the 90s as part of alien lore, then things get really bad really quickly. Besides their reproduction, another problem I have with xenomorphs is I think they'll burn themselves out. Here's the thing, they need other life forms to reproduce because of the whole chest burster thing. But they also love killing and eating creatures. Like a lot. You put a xenomorph on a station, it's going to be killing and eating people the entire time. So xenomorphs, if they are left to their own devices, let's say some xenomorphs crash land on a planet and start a hive. Eventually, if left uncontested, they will kill everyone on the planet, make a hive, and then just die out because there's no more food. They're not smart enough to fix up a ship. They're not smart enough to build a ship. They're not smart enough to move around a ton. So, once they've taken over a planet, that's about it. That's the end of the xenomorph life cycle. They then just either die out from starvation, or through some weird sci-fi gobbledygook, the hive just sits there forever. Without any form of greater guiding intelligence, xenomorphs are forever doomed to just be animals. Effective animals, they're really good at killing things, but they're just animals. And animals that just kill things willy-nilly will end up running out of prey. It's like when you play Plague Inc. and you have cheats on, so you give yourself all the symptoms right at the start, and then you immediately lose because with every symptom at once, you kill patient 0 in half a second before anyone else can get affected. Okay, with all that in mind, what are some creatures in fiction that I think could easily solo xenomorphs? Well, the first are the Lekgolo from Halo. Lekgolo are not affected by xenomorphs in basically any way. Lekgolo are worms. They're just worms, that's it. Their special gimmick is that they can attach to each other, and when enough Lekgolo attach to each other, they then become a sentient being. So it's a bunch of not sentient worms who can then become a mini hive mind and become one big sentient guy. And that can get as big as they want. Most of the time, this shows up in Halo as the Hunters, the big guys with the shields that you can shoot in the back to kill them. And Hunters are very scary. In Halo 1, the original one, they're not that scary actually, because you can one-shot them with a pistol. But if you've played Halo 5, you know Hunters are scary. The reasons why they are immune to xenomorphs are many. For starters, they are just a bunch of worms. Xenomorphs love to kill people in big one-hit attacks. Play Alien Isolation and watch any of the kill animations. You'll quickly realize that a xenomorph will go for a tail strike through the middle, or they'll use their second mouth to go through your skull. They like to kill their prey easily and efficiently, which is good. That's ultimate life form stuff, right? What if your prey is a bunch of worms? There's no easy weak point to attack. Shove your tail through the middle? Great, you killed 3 worms and now the hunter's mad. Use your second mouth on its head? Great, you killed 3 worms and now the hunter's mad. You get the idea? They also are immune to facehuggers and chestbursters for much of the same reasons. If a facehugger could latch onto a hunter, where would it put the chestburster? Hunters don't have a chest cavity, they don't have internal organs, they're a bunch of worms. If it could implant a chestburster, I think the worms would just eat it, because those worms will eat anything. They ate ancient artifacts, they ate the flood at one point, they will eat anything. I think the best case scenario is a facehugger implants a chestburster into a single worm somehow, and then that one worm just dies? It's a worm! And when I said they'll eat anything, they will eat anything. They ate Forerunner artifacts, and the Forerunners, when they were fighting the Flood, had Lekgolo as one of their attempts to try to fight off the Flood, because Lekgolo are mostly immune to Flood infection and form giant swarms that'll eat anything. Clearly it didn't work out, but if these guys, at least on a local level, can fight off the Flood, they can fight a xenomorph. The Covenant love to use hunters to fight the Flood, because you throw some hunters at the Flood, you're not gonna get 2 infected hunters coming back. Worst case scenario is the hunters die. So they're immune to facehuggers, they're immune to chestbursters. They're immune to being one-shot by an alien. So how are they in combat? Very good. They're covered in borderline indestructible armor, at least from the perspective of John Halo. And also they carry rocket launchers with them at all times, and giant shields. And they are so very strong enough that when they do a melee attack, they can knock over shipping containers like it's nothing. Xenomorphs are immune to most small arms fire. That is why you have to bring a pulse rifle or something. They're not immune to a rocket launcher. And they certainly aren't immune to the type of strength that makes a shipping container turn into a source physics object. Xenomorphs tend to win fights by being sneaky and by being all over the place. They'll get behind you and stab you through the chest. Like I said earlier, that won't work on a hunter. So Xenomorph sneaks up, stabs his tail through the hunter's chest. The hunter turns around and smashes its skull in with its shield. Rinse and repeat. You know who else I think is immune to xenomorphs and their tomfoolery? This little guy. Meet Rocky, resident Star Saver, little man, scientist, and xenomorph exterminator. He's from Project Hail Mary. He does big science. We love Rocky. Rocky is Exhibit 1 when I'm talking about why xenomorphs only work when you assume certain types of aliens are going against them. Rocky and his biology are not compatible with aliens or any of their gimmicks. For starters, he has no mouth, or at least no obvious mouth. Iridians do have a eating mouth orifice thing at the bottom of their body, but that is not something a facehugger can get to because it's normally closed off. If a facehugger grabbed onto a Rocky, it would just sit there and then get cooked to death, because also Iridians are like 500 degrees Fahrenheit at their base temperature. Not as hot as a flamethrower, but still hot enough that anything trying to hug him is going to have a bad time. No mouth, no chest cavity really, so you can't implant a chest burster anyways, and in all likelihood, way too hot for a chest burster anyways. Did I mention that Rocky also weighs like 400 pounds? Iridians are dense little guys. I also don't think the acid blood will be much of an effect. Iridians actually don't have like a living outer surface. They are actually made of rocks, and then they have like a living core that slowly replenishes the outer rock. So if you splashed acidic blood on it, I think it would eat through the rock, but never actually reach any of the living important parts of Rocky. So he's fine. The ultimate life form can't do jack diddly squat to this little guy. And I love that for him, because Rocky's just gonna think the Xenomorphs are his friend, and then he's gonna be really confused when they all jump on him and then get burned alive. Also with Iridians, you don't have to worry about an evil megacorp trying to weaponize Xenomorphs or bringing them back, because Iridians don't have capitalism or even money. I think they just vibe. Okay, so what's the next group that I think could easily deal with a Xenomorph? It's people. It's actually human beings. This might seem really dumb, but Xenomorphs only work in the best case scenario for them, which is the scenario where the people they're going against are both unarmed and also have no idea what's going on. You know, like how it is in all the movies, like a bunch of scientists in a ship or a space station full of civilians. But the people in the alien universe do have good enough weapons to kill Xenomorphs. Just watch Aliens 2, or play Colonial Marines, or a better game. You break out a pulse rifle, you're gonna be killing some aliens. That's what I'm trying to say. Once you bring in a shotgun or a pulse rifle or any other big weapon, the Xenomorphs are not nearly as bulletproof as you'd think. And the people wielding those weapons, if they know about Xenomorphs and their behaviors, it suddenly becomes a bloodbath. Being well informed is probably the most important part about killing a Xenomorph. If you don't know what's going on, you're gonna get caught off guard and picked off. If you know what's going on and you don't have good guns, you can do an alien isolation and slowly slink around and somehow escape. If you know what's going on, but have good guns, you can commit acts of Colonial Marine and kill hundreds of aliens like they're nothing. A well-trained, well-informed group of Colonial Marines with the proper weapons can probably clear out an alien hive. And there's a reason why half of the alien games that exist are just about Colonial Marines shooting hordes of aliens, because that is just something that happens all the time. But there is an even better option. Androids. In the alien universe, androids tend to be stronger and more resilient than normal people, with the added benefit that Xenomorphs often don't recognize androids as prey because they're not living, and thus don't attack them. Due to their lack of flesh or other biological stuff, they're obviously immune to things like facehuggers or chest bursters and the whole alien life cycle mumbo jumbo, leaving them all the time in the world to just go full Doom guy on aliens. If I'm not wrong, or an idiot, which is a distinct possibility for both, it seems the best way to deal with Xenomorphs is right there in humanity's hands. You just send a bunch of specially designed androids with proper programming and weapons and tell them to deal with the Xenomorphs. They won't be infected, and then you just shoot them all to death. The androids we see that get killed in the movies are civilian androids. I bet you could make a war android that has things like acid resistance and reinforced joints and like no weak points and better guns, and then just have them deal with the Xenomorphs. It would work so well. Or you could go the opposite way. Instead of create a bunch of specially designed, really powerful androids to deal with the aliens, create millions of cheap robots that just kill them. B1 battle droid it. Flood the hive with so many bodies it doesn't matter. The Xenomorphs will learn to fear the Roger Roger. That's it. Thanks for coming by. You probably noticed this video is less scripted, but also when my videos are less scripted, they tend to be more chaotic, and maybe you guys like that. I don't know. Anyways, I'll see you around.